Let's share some thoughts about Hayomim Haneroim, these coming days, which are days in which each and every Yid feels that these are days that will determine our future. These are days that will determine what will be with us and with our families the coming year. So these really are days to be taken seriously, and the Emes Yom Adin is so tangible. It's so tangible. You could almost feel it in the air, and probably that is the way it should be. So the greatest gula in Rosh Hashanah obviously is Tkiyas Shofer. Tkiyas Shofer is the greatest zgula. And we find in Chazal, Tikala from Rabbi Shofer Shal Ayel, Kedei Sheskolachem Akedes Yitzchak V'Mala Ani Alechem Kilu Akadet V'Nesatzmachem. So the Be'er Haitev, also quoted by the Mishnah Berurah Tov Kuf Pei Aleph, dealing with slichas, the concept of slichas, and the minimum slichas is always 4 days. This year we have the longest slichas, but the shortest slichas is when Rosh Hashanah's Chalan, Thursday, we have 4 days. And the Be'er Haitev explains, why is the minimum 4 days? Keneged Daled Yemei Bikur Shel Korban. When you bring a korban to the Beis Hamikdash, you need to examine the korban 4 days. And only if you checked each and every day of those 4 days and you saw there is no mum, you could bring the korban. So we learn from this concept that the days of slichas are not only days of tefillah and bakasha, they're also days of cheshbon nefesh, in which each and every yid is expected to take stock of where he holds and what he is doing and where he is going. And I always ask, when you check a korban and you find a mum, you always have the option of putting it aside and bringing another animal which doesn't have a mum. So what are we going to do if we're going to find a mum? So we're going to send someone else? So what's the point? So in Kachin, in Karbonis, there are 2 types of mum. Mum oiva or mum kavua. Mum oiva doesn't pass the korban. But as long as the mum is there, you can't be makar that. The difference is only when you take away that mum, then the korban is choizer lehechsheiroi. Benefesh ha'odam, there is no mum. There is no such a thing. Every mum that a yid could find in his nefesh is essentially, by its very nature, a mum oiva. And whatever you did, you could always fix what you wrong. And even when the Mishnah in Chagiga says, "Movis lo yachal et koyin, chesorim lo yachal himonos, bo'al erva v'hoiled mamzer," you killed a person. But in Yevomis Chofalat, the Gemara says, "Hashtamil oisei masa amcho." He can't fix, so he will be nanash, but he could always do tshuva, and he's a tzaddik. Hashtamil oisei masa amcho. That's a Gemara in Yevomis Chofalat. So Dalet Yemei Bikur, which are Dalet Yemei Slichas, is if you have a mum, fix it. And it's biyadcha. So, what does a korban have to do with Rosh Hashanah? What does korban have to do with Rosh Hashanah? I say it is so simple. Tikka b'shofer shalayel. Kedei sheskolachem akedis yitzchak v'mala ani alechem kilu kaddim sasbachem. So the entire idea is Mala ani alechem keilu akadim sasmachem. Yes. So the school of Shofer is HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees us as if we are Yitzchak and we are Nekad al Gabe HaMizbeach, and therefore we need Dalet Yemei Bikur. So the Shofer is a huge zgula. And in the Rosh Hashanah, which is a very famous drasha from one of the greatest Mekabolim, he writes, "Hirer tshuva b'shas tkiyas shofer is machapa and kolas and lisa b'dei shemayim, and the most terrible avelis. But the combination of tshuva and shofar is machapa on everything." And that is why he says it is so important to make the proper achonis and take advantage of the shofar. So what kavanas do we need to be machaben? Shofer. The Mekabonim have huge kavanas. But the Mata Ephraim, I said many times this week, we live in a day and age when Shnus Forum come out every day. Probably more Sifrei Kodesh, Sifrei Aloha printed in 1 month today than in 50 years in pre-Holocaust Europe. And there are a lot of modern Sforim which are very friendly. So the classics were pushed aside and Chabad. Because in the world of yore, every Eid, the Chodesh Elul had a Mata Ephraim on his table. Is everybody familiar with the Mata Ephraim? Are you? Don't be embarrassed to say no. Who wrote the Mata Ephraim? Do you know? No. Don't be embarrassed, because almost no one knows. The Ephraim Zalman was one of the greatest poskim 200 years ago. Weiss Ephraim, Rosh Ephraim, Yad Ephraim, Shar Ephraim. Here's the Mata Ephraim, and the Mata Ephraim is a sefer on Elul Tishrei. So we have news forums that are more friendly, but these forums were written by giants. And probably they have so much kedusha and so much. So the Mata Ephraim writes, there are tons of kavanas. It brings only one kavana, the shlo. And the shlo says, Tashra is kenegid yemei shenoisav shel odam. Tkiya is a koil of simcha. Shavorim is a koil of shivroin leiv. How do we know? Pashas Baroischa, the Chatzotzos. B'yom simchaschem u'v'moyadechem evrosh ha'chadshechem u'tekatem ha'chatzotzos. V'hoyu kisov ha'macham ala'atzechem v'haravis. The first key is Tchilas Yom Avshalodam. You're born a baby. Every baby is pure, Kodesh v'Torah. And even when he's a little kid, at some stage, you begin to fail and you begin to fall. And the Rambam writes, and you become sick, not physically, but spiritually. And a sick man groans. That's the stage of Ginuch Gonach, the Shvorim. And when you sink even deeper, and you might be over on Kolos Misa V'dei Shemayim, that is the Yalola, the Mekononos that come into the house when a person dies, and they sob and they cry, and that is the Truah. And then there's another Tkiya to teach you. You never lose hope, and you always have a way back, and that is Tshuva. So that's the Kavanah al Pinigla that the Shlo writes, and it's the only kavanah that the Mata Ephraim quotes, to bear in mind. And that is the Tashlat. And I add on to the Mata Ephraim. After all this story of Tashat, there's the Tkiya Gedoyla, which comes to teach you. It is not only that you could fix what you grow, you could achieve greater heights that would ever be possible if you wouldn't fail. And that is the Tkiya Gedoyla that gives you so much hope. Yes, you failed. But if you reach greater heights, the Tshuva Miyav, you come even closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then that is what Sefer Chasidus called Hamtokas Adina B'Shorsha, in which you turn Din into Rachamim. And in a way, the Aveda becomes instrumental to bring you closer to HaKadosh. And the other Kavanah is what everybody knows from the Rambam, Perek Gimel of Hilchos Tshuva, when the Rambam writes, Afar Pishat Ki Shofer B'Rosh Hashanah Gzeres HaKosev Remes Yesh Kaloimar Uru Yisheni Mishnasa. And one of the reasons I appreciate Shavsa Frankel Rambam, so in the old Rambams, there's only one Uru. I assume that the printers assumed that it's a mistake, If a word is found twice, probably it's the Bochazetzer, probably it's a mistake. But the new Rambams, there's two Urus. Because this is not a halacha, this is a Musa drasha. The Rambam is giving you a Musa shus. And when we turn to people and want to touch their hearts, yes, sometimes we use a word twice. This morning I learned in Novi Yeshayahu, I think it's in Perek Nun Aleph, Uri, the Novi talks to us. And he says twice Uri. And the Rambam writes, Uru, Yishen, Yishenasu, Minadama, Kitsu, Matadamasu. Zichru Belechem, Chipsu, Bemesechem, Chisu, Betshuva, Hashoichem, Isu, Emes, Behavle, Asman, Vishoigim, Kulshenosom, Behevel, Berik, Shelo, Yiyim, Velo, Yatzir, Habitu, Lenafshesechem. That is the other Kavanah. That's the other Kavanah. The Nusach HaBrucha that we make is Lishmoya Kollel Shofer. In the Rishonim there's another Nusach, and the Mishabur brings the other Nusach. Lishmoya Kollel Shofer. And my feeling is there's a difference between the two. Lishmoa Kol is listening to a voice. Lishmoa Bikolo is doing what he asks. Lishmoa Bikolo Shotmoni. Lishmoa Bikolo. Lishmoa Bikol Abba. Doesn't mean hearing. It means listening and fulfilling. And that's the Nusach Lishmoa Bikol Shofer. לא רק לשמוע את הכל, אלא לשמוע בקולו של השופר. תקשובה מה השופר, what the shofar demands. You need to listen and bear in mind what the shofar requires, what he asks from you. And what the shofar asks from you is, wake up from your slumber. Uru, yisheni mishelaschem. And that is the Nusach HaBrucha Lishmoa Bikol Shofar. Not only Lishmoa Kol, but Lishmoa Bikol. So, of all the different forms of Avodas Hashem in the Yom HaMakdashim, first there is Sesame Tshuvas Lashon, and the greatest good is the Shofar. And this is what the Shofar is calling out to us. So, my bracha to all of you, I had a precious Talmidim. It should be a year of Simcha, and a year of Nachas, and a year of Seres. We should all be able to handle Torah together, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu should hear all our tefillahs, and we should have together with Kol Beis Yisrael, Shana Toiva V'Sukkah, and Aksira V'Chasim Toiva. So I understand, Baruch Hashem, this shul has become too small. And just the day before yesterday, we were in some little basement down here. I don't even remember what it was called. And Baruch Hashem, I'm just amazed that this beautiful shul is too small. So, Baruch Hashem, Harchiva Mukam Holech, the going to say, the Alta Tzorchi, Harich Mesorayach, V'yesoidoi Sayach Chazeki, that's another pasuk in Yeshayahu. So we should share the stories, and I give you a benchyor for you all, and me we should hear not only Kol Shofer Shel Rosh Hashanah, but Kol Shofer Shel Moshiach Tzidkenu, V'mheiro V'yomeinu.